Nice high kick going over to Thompson, but it's actually fielded by Lancaster. He has a block from Thompson, and here goes Coop up the sideline, 40. More blocks on the edge, 30, 20, cuts inside, and he's gone. 5 touchdowns.
Welcome into Sports Night. I'm Jake Hibbard. That's our sponsor, and right there is footage from Star Valley's 56-14 win last week over Preston. We will be back in the Preston area next week for what I think is a first ever meeting between Star Valley and the West Side Pirates. But before we move on to where I think Uncle Rico kept the camper van, we have another Idaho meeting first, and this one kind of feels like a playoff matchup, doesn't it? Just ask Coach McKay Young.
I mean, when you talk about the flagship program on that side of the border, we're excited to play them, and they always play us tough. I mean, more often than not, over the last 6 or 7 years that we've been playing this series, we've come out on the wrong side of the score, but it's always good for us.
It's Sugar Week, a now near decade-long tradition of cross-state rivals. Can we go? Yeah, I think we can call them rivals. Sure, why the heck not? The Sugar Star rivalry. Because we all know Star Valley might not see another team of this caliber for quite some time. Now, of course, we all know this game doesn't mean anything in the standings. So today, let's take a look at what those Diggers are offering on both sides of the football and explore what Star Valley is up against tomorrow night. Let's start on the offensive side of the ball, where Sugar Salem is a classic Delaware wing T team. What's that mean? Well, it means they'll line up in the wing formation you see right here about 90% or more of the time. Out of that formation, they're going to run a series of misdirection run plays, primarily belly, buck, trap, then a pass play called waggle that is the misdirection of a defense expecting the run and instead getting a quick rollout pass. First up, we see belly, which is just a quick hitting inside run for the fullback. Here we see buck sweep, a handoff to the running back. We've got trap, where the fullback runs right up the gut and a backside guard traps a defensive tackle. And then you've got waggle, the play action that plays off a buck. Quarterback fakes the sweep, rolls opposite, and then has the pass or run option. Last year's Sugar Salem team went 9-2 on their way to a 4A state title win over Homedale. It was a senior-laden team squad that, had replaced a senior-laden squad the year before. 3 running backs gaining more than 100 yards in that state championship game, and a senior quarterback in Jack Gardner who commanded the offense. All 4 of those key players, as well as several more, are gone this year, but just like Star Valley is known for, Sugar Salem doesn't have time to rebuild, so instead, they just reload.
I don't sleep. I just dream.
And this year's team introduces a new threat into this wing T formation, a mobile junior quarterback named Frank Fillmore. Plays like this, or a design quarterback run, make this year's look at Sugar just a bit different. Jack Gardner attempted just 14 rushes for -1 yards last year, but Frank Fillmore leads Sugar with 188 rushing yards so far. So heading into this week, don't consider the quarterback designed run as an option. Look at it as one of their primary weapons. You're going against a wing T offense, you know your front 7 have to be disciplined and not get misdirected by an offense, trying to do just that. But what about the other side of the ball for the Diggers? The scout of the defense this year. Starting up front, you can call this a 2-man front if you want, with attacking edge linebackers, or a balanced 4-man front with stand-up defensive ends. When we look at the second level, we see Sugar almost always lined up in a nickel defense, with 2 inside linebackers and 5 defensive backs. Tomorrow night, you're likely going to see this defense alignment a lot, and out of a single high set, a lot of times they'll be in what we call cover 1, where the cornerbacks and strong safety are in man coverage against the receivers, ends, or fullback, with one inside backer assigned man to the running back and the other in a middle zone look. The single high safety also drops into a zone coverage. Sugar runs a ton of man coverage. Why is that? Well, I think Coach Young put it pretty well.
Sugar's made a living on just being more athletic than everybody, and so they can get away with playing man defense. I mean, that's SEC football, right? Like, when you're just better than people, then you can afford to throw your corner out on an island and tell them to delete that receiver.
This is why I talk to him. When he says things, they make sense. But really, it makes sense, and I think that Star Valley is a team that you want to put up against Sugar Salem, meaning that I think they've got the athletes to match up. But the how in football is always interesting, isn't it? Sure, often we expect teams to win or lose based on a roster that we read, but how? If Star Valley's anticipating a lot of man coverage tomorrow, what might they do to try to exploit that? Let's say Let's take a look. First thing that came to my mind when combating man coverage as a receiver is double moves. What's a double move? Well, remember Cooper's hitch and go from week 1? Basically, the idea is misdirect your single coverage and then break open for a catch. Another thing offensive coordinators throw at man coverage is a rub route. That's where you run two receivers, like you see here on the right side, at each other, try to cause some contact at the middle point against defenders to open up that slot receiver. Star Valley could also pull out option routes, as you see right here. Here we see a play where the two inside receivers on the left and right have what we call option routes, where they will break either in or outside based on how the defensive back is shading them. If they're shading outside, cut in. If they're shading inside, cut out. Both your quarterback and your receiver make the right read and you beat the defense. Well, that's a way to get an advantage against a single man coverage. But don't forget what Coach Young said. Just because you make the right read and the right break, there's no accounting for if your athlete on you is just so good, they stick right with you. So again, I'd like to say easier said than always done. And finally, something that comes to mind from my old Madden days, and yeah, we're going back, like I said last week, to the GameCube. When I was supposed to be doing math homework, I was instead trying to beat man coverage with inside mesh routes like what you see Washington State running right here in a game against Cal, where the two wide receivers break up the field and then cut in on each other, trying to cross up their man defenders in the middle, or the mesh point, and then create an opening for the quarterback to get them the ball. Of course, you've got to remember, if you're doing this against cover 1, very likely you've got a man in zone at the middle of the field and deep, though like all of these, there's certainly no perfect answer, but a few things that we could maybe look for seeing tomorrow. But how will that game play out? Well, I know you don't want to miss it on SVI News tomorrow night, so with that, let's take a look at the schedule. Got that Friday football game on SVInews.com. 7 o'clock is the kickoff time, 6:30 pregame we go on air. That's preceded by a freshman boys game at 4 o'clock. Cross country is at Idaho Falls. Varsity golf is at the Evanston Invitational at Purple Sage Golf Course. And that's your look at Friday coming up for Star Valley Athletics. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. I'll see you on the highlights.